Go ahead and turn this thing over. Jason, welcome.
Thanks, guys. It's always a pleasure. I have been up all night working on SEO, so just bear with me, but I'm going to get you through some really beginner stuff, but it's not too beginner because I've shown this to some really high-end SEO guys that didn't realize that they were missing out on doing this stuff. So the way I put together this presentation, if you want to save your questions to the end, we can have a Q&A session. I'm just going to go over some of the basics. Like if you were coming into building a sports site from scratch, using some examples, some of my best practices and some things you should stay away from. We'll go ahead and get started. I've actually been in affiliate marketing now for about 8 years. SEO has primarily been my main avenue of marketing. I have dabbled in PPC, etc., but I just very passionate about SEO. It's like a video game to me. It's pretty much like when one of the search engines changes an algorithm, it's like opening up a new level to me, and it just gives me a challenge to go out there and beat it. And that's exactly why I was up all last night. So let's move on to the beginning and start from like you didn't know anything about it. Number one, I would say good domains. What I mean by a good domain, what has been doing really well within the search engines right now are what are called exact match domains. What I mean by that is, you're going to come across a little bit of trouble when you're dealing with certain, leagues and schools and colleges, etc. But you could do stores like Pittsburgh Fan Shop, because that's not a trademark term, kind of just general city sites. It's definitely, some teams are okay and some leagues are okay with you using their name, but Wade could probably weigh in a little more and deals with that on a daily basis and can give you some advice on what to stay away from. It's probably changed since I was dealing with my sports sites. But definitely exact match domains are the way to go. The reason why I say this, when you do the keyword research, you're not going to, when you look at it, it's not going to be an overwhelming amount of traffic, but the traffic that you do get is going to convert extremely high. I mean, we're talking pretty close to 100% conversion. So if you're selling like PittsburghTableLamps.com. Like if you go that niche, I know that's really sounds super niche, but think about how fast you could get a website like that up. And then on top of that, how fast you can get that ranked to the #1 spot just because of the domain itself. So when you're thinking about building these sites, quantity is actually better in this case. So when you're starting to go super niche on certain products, you could go city by city and then hit certain product on product and just have a number of sites, and you'll rank really fast, first page #1 in no time. What I typically recommend when looking for a new domain is, I have it here as keyword.com. The reason why I have 3 keywords in there, if you're lucky enough to find a 2-word sports domain, that's awesome. But pretty much at this point, you're pretty much looking for a 3-word domain like shoppittsburghgear.com, something like that. So it would be word.com, no hyphens. That should be your #1 choice when looking for a new domain. And then I would go to and this is just from all my personal testing and everything that I've done, I would go to then keyword-keyword.com. The hyphens will not affect your results as long as you don't go over 2 hyphens. So keep that in mind. As long as you don't go over 2 hyphens, you're in good shape. So you can find some really great domains with hyphens and actually outrank the same domain without hyphens if you build your SEO strategy correctly. So that's my second choice when I'm looking for a new domain. And then the third one I go for would be keyword.net. I really try to stay away from .nets, but if that's my only option and there's a niche I really want to go after, that's what I choose. I wouldn't go for keyword-keyword-keyword.net. Stay away from that. At that point, just move on and look for something else. So that's what I recommend. I mean, if you've seen other results, that's great, but this is just what I've had success with and what I constantly test on a daily basis. So just a little recommendation. There are some sites out there that you can look for drop domains, and obviously you can buy domains off auctions, etc. So if you are able to pick up an aged domain, that's awesome, because that gives you a little more authority right off the bat. Because when you're building a brand new website, you're having to deal with no backlinks. It's brand new in the search engine. You got to build it up, which isn't a bad thing. If you do it the right way, it won't take very long. But if you can pick up an aged domain that's about a year or two old, it just puts you that much farther ahead of where you'd be with a new domain. One thing just to be sure of is to check the history of that particular domain. There's places you can do searches and see if it's ever been penalized by Google or any of the search engines for, anything at all, black hat tactics or PPC violations. So always check it out if you're going to buy an aged domain, just to make sure you're not buying. It seems too good to be true that you're getting this domain. It might be because they might have been doing bad stuff with it, and then you'll get hit with this domain and end up nowhere with it. So that's where you start. And moving on, this kind of actually comes before. I should have flipped these two here, but doing your keyword research when you're buying your domains, I would just recommend using Google Webmaster Tools, creating an account there, and using that. That's pretty much the main source. I added a few others here, and I'll actually send a copy of this to Wade if anybody wants a copy of this after to distribute. But Webmaster Tools is the best place. You go in and you put in the keywords that you're looking at, and it'll give you an estimated amount of traffic that you're going to get. So keyword research is really big, especially when if you're only looking to get a couple domains to start with. You want to make sure you're getting the ones that are getting more traffic. So moving on, this is just a simple statement about building a site. I am a big believer in WordPress. I'm not sure how many programmers we have on or what you're building your sites in, but no matter where you decide to build your site, whether it is WordPress or Joomla or you custom build it, the following rules that you're going to see always apply for optimum performance of your website. I've tested this for the last 2 years, and by doing this simple formula, honestly, it takes care of about 70 to 80% of your SEO. So let's move on, and I'll show you what the formula looks like. It's my secret formula, so don't tell everybody. All right, so this formula here, as you can see, exact match domain. So we're talking about an exact match. We're looking for, say, we are going to do PittsburghFanGear.com. What we want to do is we want to make sure our title tag is exactly the same. We want to have that in there exactly the same. And then also, it's very easy to find within, if you're using WordPress or a program at all, your H1 tag. So your title tag and your H1 are also exactly what your domain is. For some reason, that gives you this gigantic boost from what I found within the search engines. And it's a great way to start your site. I mean, this formula with the right domain, you can be ranked on the first page. I've seen it. I've been there in 10 days and making sales. I've seen it myself. I've actually made bets with people that didn't believe me. They've got a domain, and sure enough, they were making sales within 10 days off this formula. So I would stick to this. It's even with the new Google Panda updates, this is totally white hat, nothing wrong with doing this. So I actually noticed with the recent change that Google made, my sites have actually all gone up because I'm doing everything legit, unlike people that are creating content for them. So you stick to this formula, you have nothing to worry about. Moving on, we're going to talk about what's called permalinks. And that's, I think, primarily a term used in WordPress, a permalink. But what it basically is, it's the way that your URL is set up to be browser friendly. I don't know if anybody has noticed, but has seen it before. You've probably seen it, where you click on a specific blog post, and it'll be domain.com/p=3 because it will be post number 3 or the date or something ridiculous. You are not gaining any SEO benefit out of that at all. You're basically wasting your time by writing those posts. So there's a number of different permalinks that you can create. The one I have, for example, here, it's a simple category and post name. So what this does, if you look below, and anyone can check this site out, I'll pop it up real quick. This is a site that I built just to show affiliates how to build sites like this. So what you can see, what happens is, if I go back and look, and you see category post name. So example, office-shares.com/, it'll take my categories that I've created on the back end, and then it will take the post name, which is very important. So for example, this particular chair right here, if I click on this, if you take a look at my, up here at the top, the URL, as you can see, it has the word office, which is huge. Then it has the actual brand and the model of the chair. That right there is a win-win-win situation by having those additional keywords in your URL. A lot of people miss that when they're first building their websites and they have like post number 123 with the date. You're basically wasting your time. So definitely make sure you set up your permalinks correctly. I know in WordPress it's set up under the very bottom, the permalinks, right under privacy. There's a section for permalinks. There's multiple. You can set it up by category, post name, description, however you want. There's so many different variations. This is just a very clean way to do it, but feel free to test your own methods.